Hey guys, welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Brian.
And my name is Maggie.
And we interview Asian entrepreneurs around the world to amplify their voices and empower Asians to pursue their dreams and goals.
We believe that each person has a message and a unique story from their entrepreneurial journey that they can share with all of us. Hi everyone, welcome to the Asian Hustle Network podcast. My name is Maggie.
My name is Brian.
And today we have Johnny Tai on our episode. So he is a fashion blogger and YouTuber, and he makes content around men's fashion and lifestyle. He currently has 65,000 subscribers on YouTube and near 20,000 followers on Instagram. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on the podcast. You're very articulate with your words. I'm definitely going to stutter a lot because a lot of my fans know that I script my videos. So I apologize if I just ramble.
Yeah, man, let's hear more about you and your upbringing.
I am from Albuquerque, New Mexico. If you guys watch Breaking Bad, that's exactly where I'm from. It depicts New Mexico quite perfectly, actually. Just for some context, it's basically pretty high up in teen pregnancy, high school dropout rates, lowest in education system. Yeah, it's a very poor state as well. So that's kind of how I grew up as a kid. And, and there's a lot of crime as well. So as a kid, whenever me and my brother would go out and skate around the city, we'd always be ready to, defend ourselves because the crime is, not the greatest out there. It's pretty bad. So that's where I grew up. I'd just say that it has a lack of opportunity. Not very many creators out there. There are a few, but the opportunities out there is very lacking in terms of creative careers, artistry, all that stuff. It's very corporate, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I grew up.
Awesome. That's good hearing about your background too, because, you're so creative on YouTube and Instagram with fashion. Like, how does it all come about? Like, I know you're a relatively young person, so I just want to hear about how you got started into this hustle.
Yeah. And, I'm very curious to know, you growing up in Albuquerque, was fashion very prevalent in that area, and from what I've heard, it's not as big as it is obviously in like LA or New York. So, really curious to see how you were able to get into that industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, first off, the fashion out there is almost non-existent. There's like a few streetwear shops. I can only name like 2 right now. They're very far apart as well. So like the culture isn't there fashion wise. It's mainly, hiking, which is its own fashion, like a lot of hiking and nature and, corporate life. How I got into fashion was whenever I moved to New York City, which was the first time I moved to New York City was 2016. And I was dressed like some regular skater kid when I first moved here. But as soon as I stepped on, New York soil, I was very, shocked culturally in terms of fashion. And I felt like I had to step up my fashion sense. I feel like every New Yorker feels that whenever they come out here. It's just something you feel like you got to do because everyone's so well dressed on the streets. You walk down Soho, everyone has good taste in fashion. And you kind of need it as well in terms of, if you're trying to get a business job, you got to get your suit tailored, get your, your cufflinks and all that stuff, get a watch, so it was I had to get accustomed to that whenever I first moved to New York City. So yeah, but in New Mexico, it's unfortunately not there, but it is a growing scene.
Yeah.
Especially with social media and all that.
Yeah. So while you were, in Albuquerque, can you talk a little bit about, your family and the type of, parents that you grew up with? Were they like a very strict Asian household, like Tiger Mom, or were they more laid back? And, I correct me if I'm wrong, but, how was the demographic in Albuquerque? I'm assuming, the Asian population is not as big as, let's say, California, right? So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, California is huge. Well, surprisingly, New Mexico does have quite the amount of Asians. There's a lot of Vietnamese. Yeah. And so for some context, how I grew up in a very weird dynamic. My dad was very strict. My mom was very, empathetic and loving. Mm-hmm. And also I'm Cantonese, but like my family's weird as in, cause they're from Vietnam.
Yeah.
But we're still fully Chinese. So if you're Cantonese, you would know us as Yit Lam Wa Kiwian. So that's exactly what I am. So I grew up speaking Canto and Viet and English, and I was so confused with Canto and Viet. So I used to think that it was the same exact language. because culturally it's pretty much exactly the same. We celebrate the Lunar New Year. Weddings are pretty much exactly the same, and all that good stuff. But yeah, my dad was very, very strict. My mom was very loving, but surprisingly my dad let my brother and I just go out whenever we wanted. So in terms of letting us play and all that, he was very lenient. But in terms of Asian parents are, so I got a lot of ass beatings and all that good stuff that made me who I am today. But I'm glad I went through that.
It's part of the Asian American experience. You can't quite grow up Asian without getting yelled at or
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, man, I want to learn more about how you piqued your interest and executed at starting to get into fashion at a younger age. Like, what kind of advice do you have for someone who wants to do the same thing? Because we like your story a lot. Like, you grew up in New Mexico, Albuquerque. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're relatively successful on social media and YouTube, like, how can someone who's just starting out learn from that?
Yeah, so I definitely say when it comes to creating YouTube videos and content in general, I'd say you want to look at your favorite creators, not just in the industry you want to go in, just your favorite creators or CEOs, business people in general, and see how they tackle their business or their content, and try and replicate it, but not. A lot of people would say they would recommend to basically copy everything they do, because they had their success, and if you basically do exactly what they do, you're going to achieve some sort of success, which is very true, but also it can water down your brand if you are exactly like them. So when I first got into the fashion scene, I was big fan of the Fung Bros and Richie Lee. Shout out to them. Mm-hmm. So Richie Lee was a huge fashion inspiration for me, as well as teaching men's fashion. Shout out to Jose as well. So I looked up to them the most when it came to my content. So I pretty much made the same exact videos as them, and it didn't turn out well. So I've been making videos for 3 years, and I only reached 65,000 subscribers, which is, probably standard, to be honest. But I probably could have grown a lot more if I made my content a lot more original, if that makes sense, instead of copying the same exact content that they were making. Mm-hmm. So that's what I recommend, is you want to look to your YouTubers that inspire you, that motivate you, and you want to replicate their content, but put your own spin on it. Mm-hmm. And try not to copy them exactly. Like, a lot of YouTubers, they scream at the camera and stuff like, yo, what's up, everyone? Like, all that stuff. And it can come off very fake, which I've done, and I definitely don't recommend that. And you'll learn as you go. But I definitely just recommend replicating, putting your own spin to it, and just being yourself and not over exaggerating yourself too much.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I think that a lot of people with brands, even like clothing brands, I think one really good example that I follow and I really admire is Randall Pitch. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. So for example, his brand, it's like, yes, everyone loves his brand, but at the same time, everyone loves him, right? So I feel like he puts his own unique spin to it. And like, Johnny, you do too. You have your own spin to it. I think that when you were first starting out, you might have, copied other people, but while you got to, 65,000 subscribers, you picked up on your own, unique style and had your own spin to it. So really,
sometimes that's what you got to do, because it's the same with fashion. If for those of you that are into fashion or my viewers, you guys would know, like, there's trends and stuff. So I like to think of trends like, copying other YouTubers in a way, because everyone has the same style. There's like this Jerry Boy era back in 2016, it was like flannel, long line tee, distressed denim, and Chelsea boots. Everyone had that same exact outfit. So it kind of made your outfit less tasteful, I should say. It's the same thing with your content. If you make the same exact content, same exact style, same exact exaggeration of your energy, then it's just going to water down your videos, and no one's going to subscribe to that, So that's, yeah.
I mean, at what point when you started, mimicking these other YouTubers, that you found your own style? I'm kind of curious too to hear more about your self-discovery. You as a person too, because I always feel like how you feel inside is how you feel outside. There's must be that trigger where you're like, okay, like, I'm just copying someone. Who is Johnny Tai? When was that point and how did it happen?
Okay, well, a lot of my copying when I was copying other YouTubers came from the situation I was in. So I was working a full-time startup job. So it was around 50 hours a week with commuting.
Mhm.
And then I was editing for other YouTubers as well while trying to build my YouTube channel. So I didn't have time to put in effort or study, like, just being yourself. It was just like, I was like a robot, so I just made content, regurgitated content that everyone else was making. And yeah, it just wasn't that good. So discovery is, you kind of have to do that in general when you first start off with YouTube, because no one's going to start off talking to a camera very well or, scripting very well. So you kind of have to do that initially.
Mm-hmm.
as long as you try and make your own spin of it, it's more acceptable. But yeah, it's just like your style, it develops over time, it matures and refines over time because you have that experience and your preferences change, and obviously your mood changes as well, and you mature as a person. So back then I was a very cynical person, but I'd say whenever I went full time on YouTube, around last year is when I fully discovered, my style, fashion wise and YouTube wise. And I was just experimenting a little bit more instead of playing it safe, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I feel like a lot of influencers and content creators have this mindset like, oh, I have to get to hundreds of thousands of followers or subscribers until I can make the jump to do this full time. Right. And it sounds like you didn't even have, that many subscribers on YouTube yet. I think, you only have like 19,000. Mm-hmm. I think that's like a pretty impressive number already. But, from your perspective, that was like obviously a lesser number than what you have now. So what's your biggest advice for people who are trying to make that jump, who are, kind of afraid to, make that jump and quit their job? They're just afraid of the future and they don't know what's ahead.
Right. So making that leap of faith, that came from, sometimes you just gotta, like, it's not a glorious thing to be doing your own thing,
right?
Like having your own hustle. A lot of people like to glorify it on social media, but it's a lot of grit and hard work. So I understand why it'd be scary for someone to, quit their job, especially at 19K subscribers. But you gotta find, I was only able to do that because I learned from other YouTubers that I used to live with as well. And I learned, their sources of income and how they got to that. And eventually I had like 1.5K coming in per month on average. It was like 1 to 1.5K. And so at this point, like, you got to make some sacrifices. Either, for me, I was living with a bunch of roommates. There were YouTubers as well, but I don't want to do roommate situation again. So to me, I was like, I can either live with more roommates, quit my job in New York City and struggle and probably make worse content because I'm not very happy, or I can just move back to my parents or move back to Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the cost of living is a lot cheaper and it's just a different lifestyle out there. So I decided to leave New York City, the best city in the world. I love the city, but I had to leave it temporarily just to make my dreams happen. And that's kind of what you got to do. Sometimes for those that are going to take the leap of faith, they got to not go to all the raves. They got to not party every weekend, and you just got to make it happen. You got to make some sacrifices. So yeah, I moved back to New Mexico, and then I eventually moved back to my parents to save even more money is what I had to do. And then eventually during that time, my subscribers tripled in that year because I had 50 more free hours. So that's how you got to think of it as well. When you quit your job, you are opening up your whole entire week for content instead of just the weekends is what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that too, man. I really like the all-in mentality. So that's really applicable to not only your own success in YouTube and, for social media. That mentality is very transferable to a lot of things. Like for my situation, like getting into real estate, it's like the most successful real estate investors that I know quit their job pretty much out of the blue to make things happen. Because there's always that desperate feeling that you feel inside. It's like, oh no, I have to go make something happen because
yeah,
I had too much time and too much thoughts. It's not exactly a good thing. So you have to put that into action. The next thing I want to talk about is, like, how did you set your goals? Like from age like 20 to 25, where you are right now, like How do you set goals? And then how do you constantly hit these milestones?
Right. So, okay, let's start with when I was 20, because that's when I started trying to do my own thing. I was 19. I was 19 when I started trying to do my own thing. So I was a mechanical engineer in college. I only picked that major, honestly, for the money, because I didn't grow up very financially well. So my parents encouraged me to, do architecture or whatever it was. But I was really good at math and science. So that's why I picked, well, for obvious reasons, I'm good at math and science, but that's why I picked engineering. But I absolutely hated it. So I was trying to figure out any way to get out of it. So I'm a college dropout, by the way, if you guys didn't know. And what had happened was I set a goal, because at this point in time, it was when I was starting to fall in love with New York City from visiting so much. I set a goal to get out of engineering within the next 2 years. So, and I was like desperate, because I was in thermodynamics class with my friend and I was absolutely dreading it. I had the worst teacher ever, but this is very random. I don't believe in the whole law of attraction completely, but I have a situation where it happened. It's like 2 weeks after I set this goal to quit my job, or not my job, to quit engineering, an opportunity came up for me to move to New York City. And it was in the fitness industry, which was something I was really big in at the time. And that actually happened. So I took that opportunity. It was an internship for the same startup company. And I worked free for 90 days. That was like the requirements. You had to work free for 90 days. You had to make a video of yourself, why you should be hired. And those were the requirements if you did get hired. And so I got that job, and eventually, at this point, I was starting YouTube, but my vlog channel. So it's my current vlog channel right now, but it was very cringy. This was before the fashion channel. And I just wanted to be a YouTuber because of the likes of Casey Neistat at the time, when he was really hustling. That's what really inspired me. Richie Lee, the Fung Bros. Who else? Those are the main three. At this point, I was trying to grow my YouTube and work that side hustle at the same time, or that main job at the same time. And I set the goal to quit that job within the next 3 years. So a lot of goal setting comes from, there's this saying where people overestimate the amount of things they can do within a short time frame, but they underestimate the amount of things they can do over a long period of time. So I knew in 3 years I could make it happen, because I had a lot of confidence in myself at the time. It was delusional confidence, but I had the confidence. I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. It's gonna give me 3 years. But yeah, I knew within 3 years something would happen, because I had the work ethic because of what my parents taught me growing up. And then eventually it happened. I don't want to ramble in that part, but eventually it happened. And so I like to say the start of every year with the whole New Year's resolution, your goals have to be specific. So especially in 2019, this was before I went full time, I was like, I want to quit my job within this year. So by August, I should say. I'm starting to ramble, but I wanted to quit by August. And that was in my head every single day to make it happen, because one, I didn't enjoy my job as much. And I just wanted to go full time and just really dive into the content that I was passionate about. And you gotta let that drive you in order to make it happen. If you have some vague goal, like if you're trying to lose weight, it's like, oh, I want to be skinnier. It's not specific enough. It's like without a goal, you can't score. If you don't know where your target is, how can you aim and shoot at it, right? So I set a goal for August 2019, and I just worked my ass off until it eventually happened. And sometimes you might miss, and sometimes that's okay, because August was kind of, scary and probably wasn't going to happen. And to be honest, if it didn't happen, I'd be happy. But if you overshoot, if you set a goal that's very high, and even if you undershoot it, it's going to be more than if you set like a smaller goal. If that makes sense. So if I set a goal in August 2019 to quit by August 2022, I'd probably do it eventually. But if I set it for August 2019, I'd work my ass off. You'd put in August 2019 effort instead of August 2022 effort with your goals, if that makes sense. And even if you underperform, you'll be further than if you just did a vague, longer goal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because you feel pressured, at the end of the day, you feel like you need to make something happen in a short amount of time. Because there's a tendency where we all feel sometimes where if there's no harsh deadline, or it's like we take our time.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it tomorrow. And the worrying about tomorrow mentality is very dangerous too, because it makes you very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that we do things we would never do when we're uncomfortable, especially in business. Especially on being an entrepreneur, because entrepreneur is a lot of it is relationship building, connecting with people, and having these uncomfortable conversations. But that's a part of success. Like you have to be constantly changing or adapting and pivoting. And it sounds like you did that. So hats off to you on
Appreciate that.
embarking this journey, because not a lot of people can do it. Like just me relating back to you as you're telling your story. When I was 20, like 11, 12 years ago, I was nowhere as brave as you were. I wanted to play safe. I was scared, but it comes to show that each of us have our own different journeys in life. And oftentimes it's really easy for us to compare ourselves to others.
Exactly. Oh yeah, that's a big thing.
So just take your time, figure out what makes you happy, walk down your own path, and have faith that it will work out. Because like as you mentioned before, you had a lot of like blind faith, right? But that matters a lot, because you need to believe in yourself that you can do it. Because if you don't believe in yourself, you're already climbing an uphill battle, and that's a huge
Yeah, and I remember you talking about the law of attraction, right? And although you don't believe in it, and probably a lot of other people don't believe in it too, but there's just such a multitude of factors that go into it. Like as you said, when you quit engineering, I feel like that forces you to be more aware of the opportunities that are around you too, right? So yes, it could be law of attraction, but then yes, it could be you just being more, self-aware and looking for opportunities that are around you.
Exactly. And I always tell all my friends, I want to pursue this, or my followers as well, is because like the rapidly changing landscape of technology and social media and all that. I mean, 5 years ago is when the iPhone 6, I believe, came out. That's when iPhone changed their rectangular shape to the round shape, the round sides. At the time, technology wasn't very advanced. Instagram was maybe 4 years old at that point, 4 or 5 years old. 5 years from now, it's going to change completely. So you have plenty of time, and those opportunities can come. But I always tell my friends, you got to give it a minimum. You should expect minimum 3 years worth of effort in order to make your dreams happen. 3 years worth of effort and no success from that. No, like let's just say no like money, 3 years of effort. Like the first 3 years, I probably made maybe $400 during that time, $400 to $1,000 during that time with just all the effort I put in. Because I started in 2015 with vlogging. That didn't work. And then I started making income 2018. But yeah, you should expect 3 years of effort minimum in order to see some sort of success, is what I'd say to all my friends. Because people expect, especially with social media, they think instant success is very attainable, and it's really not. It's really a lot of effort, especially because social media just glorifies it, so.
I agree with that. I mean, there's no such thing as overnight success. Like success is built over a long period of time, and then you have an overnight success. And that's what the media capitalizes on a lot. It's like, it's so instant. All in all, you really have to enjoy the journey. Like you have to enjoy the process of getting there, because you are essentially becoming the person that you wanted to become by setting these goals and wanting to be that person,
Exactly. And that's something I'm still trying to work on, because it's a lot of comparing yourself in this space.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're all human, right? It's something you are going to do. It's something to be aware of. So I'm starting to appreciate the journey a lot more than, a quick success. Because honestly, I actually don't prefer a quick success if you really think about it. Because what are you going to do after you have a huge success? You have to have a bigger success to feel satisfied, right?
Right.
And then eventually it's just going to be unattainable, and you'll be 30 and then you'll be unsatisfied with life. That's my opinion. So I like progressing very slowly until the day I die. That's how I like to think of things.
Enjoy the journey, man. And let's talk about your goals too. Like what are you looking to accomplish in the next 3 to 5 years? I think it's inspiring for our guests who are just starting out in the early 20s.
Yeah. So like I said before, like in 5 years, a lot of things can change. The whole internet is still pretty new. So I don't like to think that far, but in terms of vague goals, I definitely want to have a clothing line started. Obviously, at least 500,000 subscribers, just like numbers, with the social media. I definitely would like to, help my parents out and get them out of New Mexico. Same with my brother, buy them a house on the East Coast. That'd be a nice goal. So they don't have to worry, financially.
Yeah, we love that goal, man. It's very a lot of Asian values in that. Like, take care of yourself and take care of your family.
Yeah.
Really like that.
Yeah, I love that you're giving back to your family.
Yeah, because that's the one thing I wish I did growing up as a kid. Is that's one I didn't do that enough.
Right. Yeah. So we know that, you've worked with a lot of brands along your journey, some to name is like Axe, Lululemon, Express, Skillshare, Audible. Can you talk a little bit about your journey, just, having these brands reach out to you and, what that process kind of looks like?
Right. So how it works with any type of marketing, because, if you're an influencer, you're technically, a social media marketer.
Right.
How that happens is traffic. That's why you see, a lot of crazy different ads play during the Super Bowl, because there's a ton of traffic. So people want to pay more because there's a lot of traffic. They want to have their banner on the, the field and all that stuff, so people can see the brand. It's the same way with your social media. Now you don't need millions of followers in order to make that happen. You only need a few hundred to a few thousand.
Yeah.
Brands are starting to catch on to that, by the way. So it's kind of a good thing if you're a small creator and you have a tight-knit community. But that comes with a lot of it is sometimes you have to, like for me, I just tagged brands that I wore, that I personally wore and just liked in general. And that led to some brand deals. And otherwise, you can reach out to brands yourself through email. So you might have to learn a little bit about writing professional emails and stuff like that. So there's with YouTube, it's or content creating, it's a lot of administrative work rather than creating as well in order to make it your full-time income. Those brand deals definitely came from them reaching out to me eventually, because I had a sizable audience that they preferred for their campaign. So a lot of it just starts with creating the content. Just create the content that you want to make, and you'll develop a tight-knit community. And then eventually you can try to reach out to brands. Let's just say if it's fashion, then you can tag those brands. You can message them through DMs or send them an email. But for me, if I fortunately had a friend of mine that did call consulting. Basically, they consult with other brands and try to pitch other social media influencers, quote unquote, to those brands. And then eventually you just got to get one. And that'll snowball into more brand deals, if that makes sense. Because if they see one brand, especially a renowned brand, work with you, then other brands will see that and be like, oh, they must like this guy. So then they'll send an email. So yeah, awesome. It's just building an audience.
Yeah, I mean, you do bring up a really good point too. So brands are not recognizing that it's not about the numbers of subscribers you have or or follows. I mean, likes, yeah, but in your opinion, is it more important to have a large number of subscribers and followers, or higher engagement and likes? Interaction?
Yeah, it's a hard debate. I definitely say it's all about your tight-knit community, your engagement, especially, brands are definitely catching on to that, because there's a lot of people that buy their followers, especially on Instagram. It's like, it's a lot of ABGs, unfortunately. They pay for, their followers, because I know some that have. It's unfortunate to sales for that brand. It's like if a tampon company marketed towards guys, it just doesn't make sense.
Right.
That is a huge audience, but it's just the wrong audience. Usually if you have a lot of likes and engagement, it just might not be it doesn't mean everything, because it might not be the right audience. So if you have a very niche audience, like for me, it's more streetwear, techwear type of fashion, then it's very niche, and definitely suit supply is not going to reach out to me. It's mainly going to be, techwear brands and more streetwear brands. So streetwear startups and all that good stuff. So you got to have a niche, you got to have a tight knit community rather than just a huge following.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Because I personally feel that, having an absurd amount of engagement versus absurd amount of followers is more important. At the end of the day, you're building your brand, you're building your community, you're building trust. Exactly. And your engagement, what does it show? It shows trust.
Yeah.
Right. And also within the fashion industry, like Louis Vuitton, I think flew out Emma Chamberlain to one of their fashion shows. And that just didn't make sense. Even though she has a huge following, they're all like younger girls and all that, younger girls and guys that aren't really into fashion. They just like her because she's entertaining, It'd be smarter if, these high fashion brands or just other fashion labels brought on fashion YouTubers.
Mhm.
That would just make more sense versus, someone that just has a huge following.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was weird, but yeah.
That's awesome, man. And looking through your Instagram too, like your engagement is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like you
Oh,
have
thanks.
a lot of comments, a lot of likes. Do you have any tips and advice on how to bolster that engagement, and how long did it take to get to that point?
To be honest, like my Instagram only grew because of YouTube. Like if you guys see my Instagram, I don't ever really put hashtags or anything. It's mainly just for my current audience to just see the outfit. And those followers came from YouTube. And I can see because on YouTube, I always leave a pinned comment, about the video. And I always tell them to follow me on Instagram. And it's a bit.ly link. So, you can see how many clicks you got. And I think there's like 13,000 clicks on it. And if you're going to click on that and you're already on my page, you're probably going to hit follow. Okay? And I have 20,000 followers now. That's more than half of my audience. It's more than half of my audience that clicked that link and probably followed. So if I didn't ever mention my Instagram, I probably have less than 10K right now. Can't do swipe ups.
Yeah. Well, I think that creating a community culture goes a long way in terms of engagement. So, I mean, if it seems like a lot of people from your YouTube channel are going to your Instagram, that means that they're enjoying your content on YouTube. And they're also enjoying the content that you're putting out on Instagram as well. So, I mean, AHN is also all about community. Can you talk a little bit about like how you are incorporating a community culture with your subscribers to YouTube? Like how often are you responding to them? How often are you?
I respond to all my comments.
Yeah.
I know it's it won't be sustainable. Like it's already starting to become unsustainable. I can't respond to all of them, but for the first hour of uploading, and I learned this from one of my old roommates, Christian, Frugal Aesthetic. Shout out to Christian. He would just engage with them for the first hour of uploading. That builds a community because I forgot which YouTuber. Definitely Richie responded to one of my comments before, or he liked it or something like that, and I felt so much joy from that. So if I can do that for just one of my viewers, that's enough to just respond to them, or just give a heart or something like that,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that does make a huge difference too. And that's the way we treat our community as well. Like we want to make sure that everyone feels like they belong to something greater.
Right.
Which is the reason why we take a lot of time to read everyone's story in AHN. Because I feel like everyone has a voice, everyone has a story to share. And it's so inspiring just, reading some of the stories and responding to them, And that's something that no one asks us to do. It's something that we truly enjoy, and that's the reason why we built a community. And we feel that way with you too. You take your time out of your day to respond. It's not an easy task. Sometimes your day is so busy. But this is like a passion thing. That's how you truly know if you're passionate about what you want to do.
That's how it should be. When it comes to cloud chasing, a lot of people think it more. I don't know. It's like I'm sure some influencers are like, yo, I'm probably just not going to respond to people just because it might make me look cool or something like that. You have to be cool enough to get a response from me. I'm sure those influences exist, but to me, it's just like, I'm just some guy from New Mexico, who just got into fashion 4 years ago, so that says a lot. I'm just some regular guy. Anyone can do this, so. And if some other YouTuber made me feel some type of joy from hearting one of my comments, then I can do the same for someone else.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Awesome. I mean, I would love to know, what has been your most rewarding moment, since going full time as a content creator and YouTuber and blogger. Has there been like a one defining moment that's been the most rewarding?
Definitely when someone messages me on Instagram that I've changed their life, or I've made them feel way more confident when it comes to, just branching out of their style from, the normal, fitted tees, skinny jeans, and white sneakers. Because that, to me, makes them feel more open-minded. And whenever you're more open-minded, you experience a lot more of life versus, subscribing to one style or one type of mindset, if that makes sense. Yeah. So to me, if you're more open-minded, you have more opportunities to find your happiness. And that's all I want from my subscribers, to feel more happy and be more confident. So if I can do that, that's totally cool,
Like that.
Love it. Johnny, what's one advice that you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur? So we have a lot of listeners on our AHN podcast who are aspiring entrepreneurs and are most likely the same age around you. So, I know you recently went full time into doing YouTube. So, what is that one big takeaway and one advice that you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
I kind of have a story with this as well. Definitely the choices you made in the past made you who you are today. Okay, so back then I told my viewers this. I used to live in Brooklyn and I was extremely poor. And I took over a sublet I probably shouldn't have, and I couldn't afford rent or groceries. Okay, so I can either choose to, let my credit die and then me get really skinny, or I can find a way to make it happen. Okay, so I started editing for 2 other YouTubers, and I started grinding full time with my startup job and my current YouTube channel. So it was just grinding. It was at least 60, 65 hours a week, and I didn't have any fun during that time. That's what you got to do. And those choices led to my quote unquote success today. And now I'm full time on YouTube because that work ethic was built during that time. So wherever you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years, your choices now, your decisions now will lead you to, should correlate to where you want to be. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a YouTuber, you should start creating content and, just developing it instead of watching other people create content and you getting mad at yourself for not creating content. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of just action taking. So yeah, that's where I'd leave it. I'd say is wherever you want to be, your choices now should correlate to where you want to be. So if you want to stay in the same place, you can continue partying, going to raves, having fun, which is totally cool. You got to do that sometimes. But if that's the only thing you look forward to, the weekends, then you'll probably be in the same place. But if you want to have your own side thing, your own hustle, then you got to put in that effort right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love the foresight too. It's like you're building up the habit mentality, looking long term. A lot of us can't see where we want to be in the year. Mm-hmm. And for you to have the foresight to know that you need to work today in order to get to where you want to be in 5 to 10 years, it's really impressive. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you. I love definitely the long-term thinking.
Yeah. I love the mindset. I think that a lot of people prioritize like partying. Partying is fine, but then at the same time, you have to party to celebrate something, right? Like celebrate a milestone. So make sure you're achieving.
Exactly. Yeah, I still have fun. I'm not a robot. One more thing also is I forgot. I'm sorry. No, you can go ahead, Maggie. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah. No. So, would love to know how our listeners can learn more about you. And, if you can share any social media handles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can follow my Instagram at Fly with Johnny Tai, and my YouTube channel is the same name. And I do have a vlog channel. It's called More Johnny Tai. It's more documenting the journey. The vlog channel is just mainly for you guys or my followers to get to know me a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And because one thing I didn't do is just document enough the whole process. I wish I did that. So that's why I'm starting to do it now. Yeah, those are the handles. Fly with Johnny Tai on Instagram and YouTube, and then More Johnny Tai for the vlog channel if you guys want to watch my stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll put that in the show notes.
Yeah, we will definitely include that in the show notes. Well, it was amazing having you on the podcast today, Johnny. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate I love talking. I can talk for days.
Keep on inspiring, bro. We like you a lot.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please subscribe to the show.
We would like to get to the top 10 on iTunes, so be sure to leave us a 5-star review. We release an episode every single Wednesday, so stay tuned.
Thank you guys so much.